Welcome to The Experience Today, where we explore the fascinating intersections of psychology, the human experience, and American politics.
Welcome and good evening. Happy Tuesday to all those wonderful people out here in the wonderful world universe. If you got on those nanu things, it's spectacular. If you don't, you just have no more ears like us humans. Welcome and all that good stuff to this lovely episode of The Experience Today. I am your host, Mr. Roderick Threets, and I'm also here with my lovely co-host, as always, Miss Valerie Zen. Good evening. How you doing? What's going down in South Florida?
Out here in the sticks.
That's
doing
right.
Just fine.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
The sticks of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
There's still some room, for more development.
No, there's not. Absolutely not.
Oh, listen, I just have been listening to my old pals in Boca, in Palm Beach. They're building right near that little airport in Boca and behind FAU, 7 times the size of Meisner Park.
Oh, wow.
Restaurants. Yeah, everybody's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out.
Guess who let it happen?
Yep. They let it happen. All the people we're trying to fight against, right? They're all doing it.
Right.
Doing it to us. All those politicians and those tax takers. I'll call them tax takers.
Tax takers.
Yeah, that's all they keep doing is taxing us. And, it's interesting because I've been hearing about what's going down in Mexico right now. And as we know, the cartels are completely running that country. And what they do is they go into people's businesses, whatever they're doing, restaurants, stores, and they tax them like 50%, 70%. It gets higher and higher.
It's a protection racket, like the mafia.
Exactly. And people are losing their businesses, losing their homes, losing everything because the cartels are running them. Well, if you think about it, that's what's slowly but surely happening here. I don't know what Europe is doing. I mean, if you look at England, they're just being silenced. Mexico is out in the streets fighting a real revolution right now. And if you turn on mainstream media, you would never know it was happening. How sad is that? They're not, for some reason, they don't want their constituents, so to speak, Democrat Party, media, they don't want them to be upset. Turn on the news and listen to us. We'll tell you what to think today. So it's kind of scary that we see and we hear what's really going on. And certainly the liberals, I don't want to call them liberals. I don't know what to call them anymore. The other people, the aliens from outer space, the robots, the fuzzies. I have to laugh because the furries, I meant the furries. The other day, Bruce turned around and said to me, "What is a furry?" And I said, well, that's going to take a little bit of an explanation, but it's kind of like the freaks that people have turned into with their own self-identity being kind of lost out in space. And they can choose to be dogs, cats, tigers, furry beings. They can choose to be another sex. They can choose to be anything they want to be, except for what we are. He said, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, so that's that. But I was thinking, I'm always thinking, God help me, I think too much. I spend too much time in my left brain. But some of it actually comes out of my right brain, which is kind of the the space where I just let in what's out there in the creative universe. And when we first met 7 years ago, I kind of said to you, listen, I don't know how to do radio, but I kind of know music. And I know health, music and health. Those are my two things that I've studied, that I've, psychology, of course. But the music has really been coming into my space a lot. Today I was planting clover all over the lawn, wherever the dog has dug holes. And I find myself standing there going, I'm looking over my 4-leaf clover. I said, okay, now I've really gone off the deep end. But it's happening to me with music, thinking about what's happening now in our world. And I thought about the hippie revolution, the 60s, and what was going down in the 60s. And I think like the people that were, I'm going to say from late teenagers to what would be the age now, the 30s, late teenagers to the 30s. They were out there fighting the government, fighting the Vietnam War with good reason, angry, all sorts of racial unrest, civil unrest. People were fighting in the streets, kind of looked Portlandish, and I guess wherever it's happening right now today, it seems to be quiet in this country, in this scary moment where we're all sitting on the edge of our seat and saying, when's it going to happen? What's going to happen? We're in this interesting space where we're watching riots and wars, like mini wars, major wars like Ukraine, the Mideast, Africa. Those are the big ones. The cartels, Venezuela. I mean, that's where we're like heavily involved right now. Mexico is our backdoor neighbor, and they're yelling. They want Trump to come in and get this together. Like, what the hell else can he do? And we're sitting in the middle of this, knowing that we're invaded by radical Islam, for sure. I'm feeling really concerned about that. I've been expressing that. Some people say, oh, we'll take care of that, no big deal. I'm like, no, I think that is the big deal. So, here's my question, and maybe you can help me with this. How the hell are we going to defend ourselves against all of what has broken into this country illegally by starting from Obama to right through Biden, that they have opened up the floodgates and allowed all these enemies who want to destroy our country, our culture, religion, all of it, right in our faces. How are we going to defend ourselves is really the question, because we've gotten soft, we've gotten comfortable. I don't think we know how to fight an animalistic culture in our faces. I know you know what I mean. How are we actually going to do this?
The only way to really truly do something like that, anything that's animalistic, right? Yes, it can be smart, but I look at animalistic as relegating oneself to a simple-minded state, right?
Right.
It can be easily outsmarted, but the problem is the people or the individuals with the smarts haven't used them in that manner,
That's it.
right? In a while, I mean, and again, I want to give an example, kind of an example of this, right? Just generalized example. Think about our American military fighting in the Middle East,
Yeah.
right? It's now. I don't want people to think I'm calling these people animals, right? But
I did.
but their fighting methods are primitive
Yes.
compared
And
to
I think
the
that's what I meant.
right.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
They're primitive, but yet we can't topple them because it
No.
right because yeah we have the smarts, but we still haven't toppled them.
I
So-
don't think well, some people in the military may be accustomed to that, and they've seen the blood and they've seen the death and they've seen people just do horrible things. But we're talking about a culture that beheads, rips bodies open, like just does things that are incomprehensible to us. We don't even see death anymore. They've taken, hospitals have just taken the dead bodies, put them in the morgue. You don't really see them until they're all fixed up and lying in a casket. Like, we are out of touch as a country, as a culture, with probably what the forefathers went through. You know, in the original Revolutionary War, because I think we're on the second one for sure, close to it. And I'm going to assume that the racial riots that went on in the 60s too were pretty close to what they've set us up for presently. I'm not positive because I wasn't in the street and I wasn't aware of what the exact forces of the black. I know Martin Luther King was killed. That's certainly. So we just saw Charlie Kirk get killed. We've seen leaders in every country get killed recently. I mean, we know of Kennedy's killing and how many killings these people have gotten away with, and it just gets put under the rug. Crook, who tried to kill Trump, it just gets pushed away. Oh, you don't have to think about that anymore. Like, what happened? They took his body and they got rid of it, and it no longer matters that this person was trained, taught, told, paid off, we don't know, to kill President Trump before he was even president. How easily do we just forget things, and who really orchestrated these monstrous attacks on people that just keep happening and happening and forgetting and happening again and forgetting? Like, what is this? What are we talking about? What are we allowing? Okay, allowing is an interesting word, because I don't even know that we think we're allowing by looking the other way, by putting our heads down, by saying, okay, you can't say that, it's not good, or you'll make people angry, or you'll cause a scene, or, we're being treated almost like the Brits now. It's starting to happen. Not where we are tonight. We can say whatever we want. We can't call people animals, but we can say their animalistic behavior is intact. So,
right, that's fair.
Yeah. So, I think we've become a country, obviously cannot protect our children. How immoral and embarrassing is that? How many children are missing from the border? I saw you put something up today that the Sheriff's Department caught, what was it, 100 children? Or 80 children, I forget what the number was? You had put a story up today in Florida, in Tampa Bay. We don't even realize in our local communities that children are being taken, missing, and they find them in these very strange situations, abused. What is this? No, what kind of moral country are we anymore? That's what our country is based on. So we have a country that can't protect children and obviously can't protect women either. Women are going into a place where we're very unsafe, and we're looking at Tina Peters. How could this happen to a Gold Star mom with cancer who's 70 years old, sitting in prison, rotting? And even the President of the United States can't get her out of Colorado prison. And she's going to die there.
No, because it's out of his jurisdiction, unfortunately.
See, and today I heard some military people saying, you know what? We're going to get the military, we're going to storm the doors of the prison, and we're going to get her out. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's my style. See, I think we've reached a point where, look, breaking laws, if you got to do it, you got to do it. If it was your mother in there, if it was your sister in there, and they're dying from cancer, I'm thinking you might think about breaking laws, because people have been calling by the millions. The White House, the governor of Colorado, the DOJ, they've been like blasting the phone lines. And she's still there.
I mean, Jared Polis ain't gonna do shit. He's a piece of work himself.
Maybe somebody's got to do a hit job on him.
Well, no, we're gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We're not doing
See,
that.
I'm a purebred New Yorker, and I just look at some of this stuff, and I'm just like, nah, had enough. But anyway, there's a new movie coming out called Nuremberg.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're prepping us for something. I think. Brennan, he seems to be a part of the root system of what's happening to us right now. But you know, we'll wait and see what comes of him and comes of this. I do think a few weeks ago we talked about the president declaring a state of emergency, and you said, no, he can't do that. Well, specifically, he can declare a state of emergency for our elections. And that would mean, I suppose, police, National Guard, people being available at the voting centers so that people are not threatened, people feel safe to get out and vote, and there's no strange vehicles driving in with loads of ballots. And, you know, maybe there's hope in that, because this next election, and I know we say this all the time, it's the most important election. This really is, because our country is about to get eaten up alive. I'm trying to breathe through that, because Mondani, I mean, New York, how could this happen? Last night, I was listening to Royce White and Professor Penn. And Royce White is the 30-ish black ex-basketball player. And Professor Penn is the religious Jew who's in his late 60s. And it is a most interesting conversation between the two. It's just fascinating. And they adore each other, which makes it more fun and more interesting. And, you know, he was saying that how he sees it, Professor Penn, is that Christians, Catholics, Protestants, and Jews in this country all need to come together and create this dynamic force to fight the other forces. He also said that, I want to get this right because it was so interesting, an analysis of what he sees of the Jewish people in this country. He said, Israel is basically a socialist country. They have the kibbutz, the community living, and that the people there, after World War II, all the people that had to run to Israel from all over Europe and Ukraine and Russia and Germany, wherever they all filtered in from, living in that socialist environment, many wanted to escape to the United States because they wanted to live in a republic, a capitalistic, entrepreneurial environment. But they came from a place of socialism and communism. And I will say that my dad used to tell me that my great-grandpa from Russia was a communist. I mean, people came from all over the world, and the Jewish, what he was saying is that the Jewish people, many of them here in this country now, are basically communists. And if you look at all the liberal New Yorkers, a concentration of Jewish people, a large one, that voted for this jihad communist, I can't leave that word out, they really, really, really want what he has to offer, or they think they do. So maybe they're going to get what they want, but unfortunately, it's going to be like an infection in our country. And we're going to have to be the antibiotics, the human antibiotics. I'm just, he's a Shiite Muslim. And for the people that don't know that there are two basic parts to being Muslim, the Shiites are Ayatollah Khomeini-ish. They're like, Sharia law, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
Look at Texas. They knew just where to go.
Mm-hmm.
They go into the hearts of a red state, of a proud, fighting state, and then to the global financial hub of this country. They're not stupid. How prepared are we? Because it's going to be either Gitmo or the camps. Gitmo for them, the camps for us. What do you think? A little of each?
Yeah, I think a little of each. I mean, because down to its core, right? I don't care if you are a whatever your ideological stance is, right? And no matter how much the anti-statist of this country fight so hard. I mean, I'm sorry, the state, it's not the anti-states, but the state is much as they fight for the government. At the end of the day, when presented, and I'm not going to mince my words here. When the face of the enemy is coming to take your liberty away, and you do not recognize the face of that enemy, you're going to pick up a fucking gun and blow his goddamn head off.
Or else
And,
you're going to have a banana.
I mean, but that's straight up. I don't care. And for all my liberal and progressive listeners, and all of you guys that are anti-gun and all this shit, you listen to me. Listen to me very clearly here, right? Because you can play up your emotional instabilities. You can play up your ideology, but deep down, right? If the government comes to your door, you know you that's the enemy you're expecting to act a certain way. But when a different enemy comes in you in a veil and a cloak to your front door to do the same thing, or walk up to you on the street, say you can't wear that, and slap you in the face, an enemy you don't recognize, you will become violent against. You will become violent because that person is violating the sense of liberty that you have protected and preserved for yourself and your family. You will not dare. You can cheer out in the street all this free Palestine and all this stuff. But when that enemy comes to your front door to tell you and your family that you need to put on hijab, you need to do this, you need to obey, but by all means, you will not bend the knee and comply to a force that you do not know and understand. You will fight back. It is no different than you fighting against a rapist. It's no different. It's the same concept and principle. You're going to fight that fool with everything you got. Scratch, claw, beat, kick in the nuts, everything. And you will do the same thing to the enemy that you do not understand or know, coming to you to demand things from you that it has no right to. So you libs and progressives can drop all that talk about coexistence, because at the end of the day, the only existence that needs to exist is liberty, and your liberty especially, and your family. And if you are willing to bend the knee and give that away to an unknown combatant, you do not deserve that liberty. And what comes to you after that is what comes after that.
You see, you're speaking through bravery, experience to a great extent, and I'm concerned about the people that don't even know how to think through what you just said. They don't know how to get there. They would just roll over. So, okay, so let's kind of take this, since it's a little of both, let's kind of take this into that space of it's a little of both. We've got politicians finally being held accountable, kind of like the Nuremberg trials, and some of them being sent to Gitmo, maybe getting hanged. I don't know, that's what Nuremberg did. They just put people out of their existence. I don't know if we would do that or if it's legal at Gitmo. I have no idea. You might know that. But what are we going to do, let's say, for our neighborhood, for the people, with chaos and fighting going on everywhere? I mean, maybe our shopping centers will kind of be very scary places where you know there's going to be bad stuff going on, so you're afraid to go there, or you don't want to get out, you want to stay out of the way, so to speak. What are we going to do for each other, volunteers of America? How do we see ourselves volunteering to go forth, not only in this environment, but living in the truth that we need to hold on to and be self-defensive? Like, I think it's an important thing to actually put in your head and think about, because we're all going to have to be able to share our stuff. I mean, we've been in hurricanes before, and we've been in situations where we've had to share food, water, resources of all kinds. And yeah, we knew we would eventually be able to replenish. But what if we're in a situation where we can't replenish easily for a longer time? How long did the revolution take? How long did the Vietnam War take? God help us, too long. But this is different. I think it's different. I think this is something that could go on for a longer time than we imagine. we could be in a serious financial bubble, which I think that's going to happen anyway. That's almost in a different area. It's just going to happen. Our currency is all messed up. The system in the world, in Vietnam, people are waiting on lines to buy gold. They're running out of silver. People are in a very hysterical mode right now. Bitcoin, nobody quite knows what they should do and where they should be with our finances. I don't know how that spells out into unrest, but it could. It could add in to the existing unrest. So we need to think about how we're going to volunteer. Volunteer for America.
That's right. And hold that thought, okay, because we got to run into the little break here. So y'all get up, stretch your legs, and all that good stuff, and get you something to drink. Not the fancy drinks, just some water for your parched throat. And we'll be back around these parts here in, looks like 6.5.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The major averages continuing to sell off for a fourth straight session as investors question the valuations of top tech and artificial intelligence stocks and a broader economic downturn. Investors are eagerly awaiting two key tests of those concerns: NVIDIA's earnings report after the closing bell on Wednesday and the shutdown delayed September jobs report Thursday morning. And Bitcoin briefly dipping below $90,000 for the first time in 7 months, deepening a sell-off that has wiped out all of the leading cryptocurrencies' gains for the year. Its price rebounding to around $93,000. The Dow down 499 points, the Nasdaq lower by 275, S&P 500 down 55. And shares of Dow member Home Depot tumbling 6% after the home improvement retailer reported weaker than expected third quarter earnings and revenue. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Special designation for Saudi Arabia. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump announcing Saudi Arabia is being designated a major non-NATO ally, making the announcement at a dinner with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the White House East Room.
A stronger and more capable alliance will advance the interests of both countries, and it will serve the highest interest of peace, and we all share in peace, and we've never had and been so close to truly everlasting peace in the Middle East.
It's coming after a full day of meetings where the U.S. agreed to sell fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. The designation is largely symbolic, but provides certain benefits in the areas of trade and security cooperation. Argentina, Australia, and New Zealand are among the countries with that designation. Earlier, the Crown Prince was asked by reporters about U.S. intelligence linking him to the killing of Washington Post reporter Jamal Khashoggi. The Saudi government denies the allegation, and President Trump said bin Salman knew nothing about it. Congress overwhelmingly approves legislation compelling the Justice Department to release all its records about convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Legislation requiring release of the Justice Department's files on Jeffrey Epstein is now heading to the president's desk. The Senate adopting the measure by unanimous consent hours after a nearly unanimous House vote.
Let the truth come out. Let transparency reign.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says the bill is not about one party or the other, but President Trump, who initially opposed the legislation, is accusing Democrats of using the Epstein case to distract from his administration's successes.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Firefighters are battling an out-of-control fire that's burned through a neighborhood in southwestern Japan and forced more than 170 people to leave their homes. The fire started during strong winds near a port and it spread to a forest. America's listening to Fox News. One of the 25 schoolgirls abducted from a dormitory in northwestern Nigeria yesterday has escaped in its home. The school's principal says another student was able to escape shortly after the gunman raided the school and was not kidnapped. Israel's prime minister praises President Trump as the UN endorses the Gaza peace plan.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has posted on X to say he and the State of Israel applaud President Donald Trump and his tireless and devoted team. This after the United Nations Security Council gave its mandate for an international stabilization force for Gaza, passing a resolution endorsing President Trump's peace plan. The vote has been condemned by Hamas, however, which says the stabilization force will not be neutral. The UN resolution also envisions a possible future path to an independent Palestine. Some Israelis, including the Prime Minister, strongly oppose that idea. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Cloudflare says it's resolved an issue that led to outages impacting users of everything from ChatGPT and the online game League of Legends to the New Jersey Transit System. Other platforms impacted included Shopify, Dropbox, Coinbase, and the Moody's credit rating system. Cambridge Dictionary announces its word of the year, and it's inspired by a certain celebrity couple.
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's love story is now shaping the dictionary. Cambridge Dictionary has announced its 2025 Word of the Year, parasocial, and says the choice was partly inspired by Swift's lyrics and her high-profile engagement to Kelce back in August. According to Cambridge University Press, the word, once reserved for academic psychology, now describes a mainstream phenomenon, a connection that someone feels between themselves and a famous person.
Fox's Michelle Polino. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
I want to welcome y'all back. Make sure you're doing the things on the screen. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're not, I'm gonna get on you about not doing that. I'm gonna find you. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. You know the Fugees. Y'all remember the Fugees from back in the day. You know the song. But make sure you like and subscribe. Right, all our shows: Southern Liberty, Fifth Estate, Experience Today, the flagship show, which now become the flagship show, Chasing Life, Liberty, and Monarchy on Sundays. Make sure y'all come through for that, because, you know, we do a lot of educating over there for a new liberty, a new future. But anyway, look, I'm glad y'all here to hear us run our mouth. I'm glad you took some time out of your day, and I hope you're getting something out of this. If you're not, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, I know what to tell you. Give us ideas. How about that? I've never said no. Right? I mean, I've said no to a few things in my life, but those were like, you know, life decisions that would have been detrimental to my own life. Like, I had to say no. You know what I mean? You know, jump out of this plane at 20,000 feet. Well, I mean, it's cold up there. I'm not jumping out, bro. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to be dead before I hit the ground. Like, I jump out, I'm just going to be frozen. That's it. Game over. I'm going to die from hypothermia before I get down to 10,000 feet. But anyway, you know, I don't make decisions like that, right? But I never say no to a good topic or challenge. So, you know how to get a hold of me, get a hold of the show, do the Patreon, all that. You know, that's the biggest thing. Get up on the Patreon, right? At least on the free status, you know what I'm saying? So you can see what I'm writing, all that good stuff over there, see what we're talking about, etc. Anyway, welcome to Experience Today. Ms. Val, you had a thought going into the end of the break there about this whole being volunteers. I want you to keep going on that, so I have some comments on that too.
Yeah, I mean, we're volunteers of America, right? That was the Jefferson Airplane that did that song. I think that it's good to think about that, because then you're more prepared in the thought process of, okay, what do I have to do? Let's check on the neighborhood. Let's see what people are up to. Let's see if somebody needs help. Let's be there And also, let's be prepared to defend ourselves. You know, I'm going to think that a lot of people in Florida are prepared. You know, in the states where Second Amendment is honored, as opposed to dishonored, which should be against the law. I mean, but listen, we're fighting battles on every end of life. I think there's a couple of things that need to happen, and it's very important. We need to think about being brave. That's a mindset. Be ready to defend, be ready to help, be ready to guide people who are going to be blown away and not understand what's going on because they've been watching the mainstream media. I mean, psychologically, we need to be prepared for all of these necessary steps in a time where there will be Gitmo and the camps going on, let's just say. It's possible. Anything's possible at this point. I mean, Trump is sitting in the White House having this fancy schmancy dinner with the Saudis who are dropping loads of money on our country, and this is all, you know, terrific. I mean, is that a calm? He has said, I want everybody to be rich. Well, obviously, everybody can't be rich, but he wants everybody to have what they need. So did Adolf Hitler want that for his people. You know, you have to really look at all the countries of the world and look at history and say, well, some of the leaders who were written in the textbooks as being the worst people on the planet and the universe, maybe we're not. We don't know. You know, they blank out history. They do a Hillary Clinton like the phone, and they say, okay, let's start all over. Now we're writing history for you. This is what you need to know, not what really happened. So we need to be aware of that process because they're doing it to the kids. Anyway, so we need to be ready to rock and roll, so to speak. Our government absolutely has to get these foreigners who hate us out of our government. I see that as a very, very big necessary item. We can't have an Ilmar, a Tlaib. This Mandami is going to take care of himself. He's going to be like the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm melting. We got to get these people out. There's just no way they should be in our government. And, you know, sifting through the illegal, the people that are here that did not apply properly, I'll put that in, I'll say it the right way. Some of the people have been here a long time and they're good people, and you know, I can't say what should be done, but I think that what's happening right now, getting criminals out, is a very good first step. I think there's a lot of federal judges that absolutely have to be fired. They absolutely have to get taken out. They're not judges, they're political hacks. They're paid, they've been placed there. They're not part of our government. So I'm trusting that that's going to happen as well.
I agree.
I see, yeah, that's a necessary. And if you can't have a gun, if you live in a state where they're not allowing you to do the right thing, then you have to get a banana. I don't know if any of you have seen this new commercial on TV. It's by BYRNA, Byrna. Mm-hmm. And a Byrna looks like a gun, but I think it's a combination of like laser tear gas and stuff like that. It doesn't kill you. It just paralyzes you for a while. And they do this commercial on RAV where this woman is walking around with a peeled banana in her hand. And she says, you know, this guy next to me, he seems a little seedy and I'd be uncomfortable, but I've got my banana. Mm-hmm. It's a very funny commercial, and they go through a couple of scenarios of I've got my banana. So I went online to look it up. Of course, they're a little pricey. They're like $500, but I think if you live in a place where you can't have a gun and you've got to go out, it might be a good idea to consider looking at some of these. And there's also dealers all over the country that sell them. So just BYRNA. I think it's just something special.
Burner launcher. Yep, I know it. Yep.
Yeah. And then I would also highly recommend getting a crazy 95-pound German Shepherd who'd be very happy to kill anybody.
Oh,
I have
my.
one of those.
Oh, my.
No, I'm telling you, they are wired for this. And I mean to say, when the Nazis were using these German Shepherds in the war, these dogs actually, you have to have them under control and be trained to a great extent, of course. But they just sit there waiting for trouble. They love it. They just love it. They hear cars coming down the road. They're at attention at the gate. Just, I dare you. I dare you to try to get on this property. I mean, I have 24/7 security in this house. And he has access to the whole house all the time. So don't come here. Don't come here unannounced. Do not do it. He's 3.5 years old. He's in his prime. So, you know, all these things are important, and I just beg for, especially women. You look at these TikTok videos of these like liberal white girls in New York City. Oh, we think Sharia law is going to be great. Yeah, we're ready for Sharia law. Does anybody think for 1 second they even know what the hell they're talking about? I mean, go get fitted for your burqa. And what color would you like?
You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they have to learn. You know, if you're not going to take a trip to Venezuela or Cuba, then learn it this way. It'll be a softer lesson. I don't know, did you see him give that speech the night he won? That guy took his mask right off. I mean, he went from smiling and being friendly and making friends with the rabbis in New York and making friends with, you know, the women. And then he stood up there and it was like, now here's the real me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was actually shocked. And I think people are going to be shocked. New Yorkers, the smart ones, they're hauling out right now. 700,000 of them, right out. Why would you stay in business? What would you expect of your business? Other than the possibility of Elise Stefanik winning the governorship, because she is a smart mama. She took down the staff at Harvard. She got that woman fired for all the protests going on at Harvard. And I just think the possibility of a governor neutralizing a mayor exists. And I don't know how the banks are going to feel. Goldman Sachs and all the big Morgan Stanleys and all the big banks are right there on Wall Street. I mean, what are they going to let this guy do? They're going to have all these strange people and issues running around them in circles. I think they can move to Austin, Texas. But then look what's happening in Texas. Where's everybody going to go? What did Reagan say? There's no place left to go. This is the last bastion. Yeah. Hello, New York. You will be the city that does sleep. You will sleep because everybody is going to have to stay home. Women will not be able to go out alone, which right now it's getting testy, to be honest with you. I don't want to go out alone, especially at night. My God. New York, I used to walk around at night alone all the time. I mean, we were smart. We knew, what to look out for. But it wasn't, it was okay. Everybody was out. Streets were crowded. There were people everywhere. I worked down in the Village. I took the subway to the Long Island Railroad to get home. I got out of work 10 o'clock at night and I did that. And it really, I was fine. I'm still here. It was 20 years ago. I'm still here. So, today I don't think I would be singing that tune, that I'd still be here. But we have to be aware that these people have destabilized our country. Thank you, Obama. We've been racially divided. We've been politically divided. And, we might still be a superpower, but they're eating away at it. We're dismantled. We're in the process of getting dismantled, but I want to hear from everybody how we're going to fight this. What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with supporting the forces that be? Because all I see is, we want the Epstein files, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Sharon like Trump. When are we going to stop the gossip and the bullshit and tearing this party apart? God, that freaks me out more than anything. We have got to start supporting all the people that are trying to do the right thing, even if they do the wrong thing. The Democrats all stick together, or now I would call them the communist progressive lunatics, but they stick together. We have to do the same thing. This is eating our ability to accomplish the tasks at hand. Stop with the gossip. Stop with the I don't care what Marjorie Taylor Greene says. I don't care about the Epstein files. I mean, I care about the women who have come forward and stated that this stuff happened to them. I care about that. And I think it should definitely be dealt with and looked into. And if the web that has no weaver ends up finding the queen ant's nest, that's positive. As long as we're not tearing each other apart in the process. And that's what Republicans and libertarians and people on our side have been doing. The right. We're tearing each other apart over Israel. Oh, the Jews, oh, you're not Jewish, you're anti-Semitic, you support Israel. Oh, stop. Stop, stop, stop. We have a big job in front of us, and it's so much bigger than all this nitpicking. And we have to tell ourselves that every day, because that's the challenge. God gave us free will. We've got the free will to ignore the garbage that's coming at us and stay focused on this really important thing, like saving this country. Not saving a person or an argument. Well, arguments are good. Debate is good. We've got to get that back. We have to be able to talk to each other again. and share what we know without getting, pulverized or turned off or screamed at. Why can't you listen? What part of what I'm saying is so horrific that you hate me? You've decided to hate instead of just listen to something? And you don't have to take it in. I don't have to take in what you're saying, but I can listen. I'm interested in hearing how you came to the conclusions you came to. That's what we got to get back to as well in order to save this country. We're out here preaching to the choir, I assume. I don't really know who's all listening, but I see who's in our chat room and I know everybody, so I'm preaching to the choir that I know. But we've got to be able to have those hard conversations. And I would step out and say the other side really needs to learn how to do that instead of screaming in our faces and not being able to. They don't even know why they're screaming. That's the upsetting part. They don't even know what they're saying. They have nothing to back up their hysteria. That's what's so difficult, I think, for us, because we know what we're talking about. We've educated ourselves. We've put things together. We've sifted. We've filtered through all the information and all the garbage. We emptied the vacuum cleaner. We empty it every day. Dump it in the garbage. New filter.
That's exactly right.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So, we're building a tunnel, I hear, from Russia through the Bering Strait to Alaska. This could be a beautiful alliance between the USA and Russia. And we can get these suckers if we do the right thing. And we have to have faith that Trump, whatever he's doing for the betterment of all of us. He's good, He's doing this for us.
Yeah, that's true. We've came to the end.
Okay.
Yeah, we've coasted in like Kung Fu. I appreciate everybody. I want to just add one little thing though, right? We do have to get back to the point of talking to each other, right? Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, this is not a sleight of hand to the, the people that are trying to follow in Charlie's footsteps or been inspired by Charlie Kirk, right? To go to these college campuses and do these things or stand on the corners and do these things, right? But at the same time, right, you have to be able to create conversation, regardless if you have all the facts coming into the conversation. You can't bully people into
right.
into plugging in what you are saying, right? Conversation used to be an art.
Yes.
Right. Now conversations have become debates. Debate and conversation are not the same. And this is where we lose a lot of people. So to those people, right, that are being volunteers to save America, please understand, you can win arguments, but arguments don't win hearts and minds. Arguments do not give the person the ability to process and maybe switch their position, right? Conversations are not based on absolutes. Because when your conversation is based on absolutes, you shut down the conversation after one word.
Correct.
Right? So you have to understand the person you may be talking to may not be as knowledgeable as you are. that in itself, not knocking the other person in the conversation, right? But you have to be able to feel where they are, get a baseline where they are, so you can talk to them, not at them.
Right.
And that's a big mistake in the political space. People want to talk at people because I got more facts than you do. Right, et cetera, et cetera. And it's more, literally, it's more, and I see it coming from both sides of the paradigm, but I see it more coming from the left side of the paradigm, because they're arguing from an appeal to emotion, right? So, and again, y'all, listen, I'm critiquing it based on my expertise, right, on what I'm hearing and seeing, right? You have one group of people that argues, right, because both sides argue on the bigger scale, right, from logical fallacies. The folks on the left, I mean, let me start with my friends on the right. My friends on the right will argue from authority, right? And what do I mean by the appeal to authority? It means citing statistics, citing this, that, and the third that's documented, and upholding that authority. Meanwhile, which is what, again, right, that's not bad, because, you know, you got to have your facts to be able to form your argument, right? The other side uses the logical fallacy called the appeal to emotion, right? And they'll try to guilt trip you into something one way or another, right? So I always tell my friends that are on the right side of the paradigm, don't argue from authority, right? Form your opinion from the statistics you have read, or the facts you have read, and articulate it yourself. That way it becomes natural in conversation. Just don't say, well, they know the statistic, now articulate it in your thing. Like I say on TikTok, and those of you that are in here that follow me on TikTok and have seen me talking lives, I always say, I want to hear what your opinion is based on the information you have, not what a pundit has told you. Right? Don't argue a pundit's point. They've already argued their point. If you're arguing their point, you're just regurgitating what they're saying. I want to hear what you have to say about X, Y, and Z subject. And that's part of the art of conversation. And we need to get back to that. That being said, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Remember, love your neighbors, love your family. Ultimately, if you do not love yourself, you can't love anything else.